UFC need to get rid of the Apex immediately. What are we doing? Why are we not going to all around the world each week? Why are we not doing that? The UFC is the biggest company in the whole of MMA. They have unlimited money. They can go to Prague, Paris, London, even like Brazil. Brazil's the biggest fighting country in the world, bar America. Why are we not going there constantly? Why are we doing fight nights in the Apex? Why are we doing this? The reason I want to make this video is the card today, by the time you're watching it. But the card this weekend, Marvin Vettori vs Roman Dolidze 2, is awful. Absolutely awful. I'm a huge advocate in fighters getting their props, even if they're not the big superstars. I understand that fighters have worked their whole life to be in the UFC, and I don't think any fighter who makes it to the UFC is a bad fighter. I would never ever think, especially the lower weight classes. I'm the biggest advocate for how skilled you actually have to be a UFC flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, even lightweight and up. Like, to be in the UFC, you have to be so talented. But that doesn't mean we should have a whole card of UFC fighters not even in the rankings. That doesn't mean we should have a whole card of fighters not even nearly breaking into the rankings. I understand Marvin Vettori vs Roman Dolidze 2. Great fight to make. It's not a main event. It's at best a co-main event. It's 2025. What are we doing? Marvin Vettori's been off for ages. I'm sick of these middleweight, light heavyweights and heavyweights who are not on a title charge, who are either out the rankings or really low down the rankings, being main event on an Apex card just because the UFC can't be bothered and making a sick card. I'm sick of this. It's so bad that, let me read out the first card of the year. So this isn't to do with the heavyweight, middleweight, light heavyweight. This is more to do with just the UFC as a whole. The first card of 2025, you think, oh, we've got to stack this. Let's show them what we mean business for the whole year. Mackenzie Dern vs Amanda Ribas 2 was the main event. And like, they're pretty high ranked in the division, so I'm not totally against that. Let's look at the co-main event. Santiago Ponzinibbio vs Carlton Harris. Are you kidding me? Kovalev vs Chris Curtis was on that card as well. That was, my opinion, the best fight on paper on the card. Don't get me wrong, some of these Apex cards do well. Like, I'm sure when I watched that card, it was an alright card to actually watch. But that's, we can't accept that just because a fight's good to watch. Because if you go to any show, you come to Liverpool and you go to any show that happens each weekend, you go to an FCC, UKFC, MMA is the best sport to watch in the whole world. You'll have a sick time watching fights. Most fights are amazing. Most fights are sick. But the UFC can't use that to not put on the best fights each weekend. They can't use that to stop putting these amazing fights that we want to see on each weekend. That first fight card of the year, that's a disgrace that can be the first card of the year. I like all the fighters fighting. Ponzinibbio vs Carlton Harris, great opening to the main event, even if it is on a fight night. Mackenzie Dern vs Amanda Ribas, put that as third fight on the main event. Put that even as a co-main event with a sick main event. I'm fine with that. The reason the UFC put out these cards where like the fighters are like nowhere near the rankings or outside, or all of them outside the rankings, the reason they're allowed to do that is because they're sitting with 500 people in attendance. They're going to sell 500 tickets in the Apex. But if we put this card on a weekend, if we put that card on in Prague, are we going to sell any tickets? No, we're not. Or if we do, it's just on people who just desperately want to go and see the UFC. And the UFC are half taking the mick out of people if they do that in person. If we look at the cards that have been in big stadiums or in big arenas this year, UFC Saudi Arabia had Israel Adesanya headlining it. Sharipov Magomedov vs MVP is the co-main event in Saudi Arabia. What a sick 2 fights that is. We look at even UFC Seattle, Rob Font's on there, Henry Cejudo vs Song Yadong's on there. Sick fights. And they had loads of fights get pulled from there. Edson Barboza, Curtis Blades. UFC London next weekend, Leon Edwards vs Sean Brady, amazing fight. Jan Blachowicz versus Carlos Ulberg, amazing fight. Even if we look at a bit before the 2025, Petr Yan versus Figueiredo in Macau, amazing. Even if we look at what's coming up in UFC Iowa, Figueiredo versus Sandhagen, Bo Nickel versus Derrida. The UFC, the only reason they don't put on these sick fights every single weekend is because we let them go to the Apex. We have to stop the Apex. It's getting ridiculous. This weekend's fight, like, I'm a huge fan of Damon Blackshear, and the name's escaping me. I'll type it here, but there's an Argentinian fella, 14-1, huge prospect fighting this weekend. But like, still, they can finish the prelims, or even I'd let Damon Blackshear open the main card. But then the main card, let's make it sick. Where's Matthias Gamrot, Beneil Dariush? Why are we stacking the pay-per-views so much to where the opening prelim to the last main event on the main card is unbelievably stacked, like UFC 314, unbelievably stacked. But then this UFC fight night's awful. Like, I'd take every single main card to be unbelievable each weekend, and then the opening prelims to be a little bit better on the pay-per-views, but still every single main card's amazing throughout the year. I'd take that. We need to stop accepting it. Why is no one in Dana White's I watch all of Dana White's interviews. No one ever goes, why are we still in the Apex? Why are we still having a card once a month in the Apex? Why are we doing it? And I just think, because we let the UFC get away with it, that's why they do it each weekend. I understand that they have so many fighters and they need fights each weekend. They need fighters to build up their records to then become stars. But that doesn't mean we can't have sick fights each weekend. That doesn't mean we can't have free fights on the card, no matter where the place on the card where you go, oh my god, have you seen who's fighting this weekend? I think if you gave this card, if you showed every single fight in this card to someone who watches probably every single pay-per-view of the year, if you don't count the main event, they wouldn't know anyone on the whole card. I'm convinced of that. My boys, they watch a lot of UFC, but they're not hardcore fans like me. If I showed them their card, they wouldn't know a single person on there, bar Marvin Vettori. They might know Roman Dolidze because he just fought Kevin Holland, but let me know what you think. I do think Marvin Vettori's going to win this weekend by decision, but it is a very close fight, so I could see it going either way. Let me know what you think. I do think they've got to desperately scrap the UFC Apex. I like the idea of it. I like that they saved the UFC in COVID by doing it. It's 2025. Let's go to Prague more. Let's go to Brazil. Let's go to Buenos Aires. Let's go to all these places around the world. You've got, in the flyweight division is the perfect example. The two biggest fighters from one country, Japan, Tatsuro Taira, Kaya Sakura, both coming off losses. Do a fight night in Japan. What are we waiting for? We've got big fighters from all around the world. If Blachowicz wins next weekend, do Blachowicz versus Yuri in Prague or Warsaw in Poland. Do them next. Stop doing it in the Apex. Stop. Go all around the world, even all around America. Put them in different places in America. I don't want to see Apex cards. The only reason the Apex cards aren't as good as when they go to London, when they go to Iowa, when they go to all these places, Seattle, all around the world, is because they only have to sell 500 tickets, and don't even know if they sell 500 tickets. I think they just give them out to the fighters' friends and family. So, if, for example, this weekend, this card, if you put that card in, let's just say Iowa, where Figueiredo and Sandhagen are headlining, do we think it sells out? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And he wouldn't even dare put that card on to the fans of Iowa. That they'd be taking the mick out of them. So, let me know what you think. I think, like, after 2025, have to scrap UFC Apex. They have to. I understand that's probably already set out all the cards and all the venues are booked for the whole year. So once 2026 comes, I don't want to see any Apex cards. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you later.